Hey everyone, I'm Heather and this is Josiah. We're 1111 Electric. I am wanting to come to you guys today and share our experience that we just had with Xcel. Now, we haven't done many videos about it, but we have been in, you know, a situation of helping the city of Longmont with their trying to help stop their smart meter rollout. And we've helped many other people in Boulder and in our community that um, were more educated and hesitant about wanting to get smart meters because, um, a lot of us learned a lot from what happened in California, where they first initially had rolled out smart meters, and there was a lot of fires that were caused by them. And so Californians went through a lot, a legal battle to win their rights back to be able to have the option of having a smart meter or an analog meter or whatever of their choice. Um, a lot of the other states that have been getting the smart meter rollout, they're not there yet. And they haven't got themselves in that type of position. And so Colorado is one of them. But um, Josiah and I, they started rolling them out. I guess it's been going on 6 years, and we still have our older style, the first style of smart meter, which was considered the
AMR.
AMR meter. I guess the newer ones are the AMI. And so we have been able to hold them off because of the code violations that Josiah was able to find. And there's multiple code violations with the smart meters, and the opt-out meters, which includes with our own national electric code that we follow, but also with OSHA. OSHA's code violation that we have been using to keep them away from, putting the smart meter on our house that well, today would have been the third time. They've came out two other times, and basically the opt-out meter that they have brought us does not have a UL label on it. So there's it the one they brought me today did have a UL label sticker, but I'll get into that soon. So today I was out watering in the front yard, and SiteWise, which is a third party to Xcel that does a lot of their shutoffs, came out and told me that they had us, my opt-out meter, and that they were there to do a job, and that was to either install it or to shut off my power. We had received no notices. No, I know a lot of other people that have had this exact same thing happen to them recently. A lot of them did have notices, but we did not have a notice to shut us off. And so luckily today that didn't happen, but they were here to shut us off. We were able to talk, luckily, between the three people that came. One of them was a really, really, beautiful and genuine, real human that knew that they would be in the wrong if they shut us off today, and actually did his due diligence and talked to his higher up and ended up, saying, no, they have no notices. We're not going to shut them off. Um, but either way, let's talk about the awareness of fear, and that they were trying to, one, um, scare me because they were out of the blue going to come and shut off my power. And um, thinking like I would be scared to lose my power, that I would just take their device. I made that very clear that my issue was not them shutting off my power. As soon as you leave, we will get the power back on. Our neighbors will not be happy with us. but we're not going to go without power. That is not the issue. The issue is they tried to pull one over on me, and to somebody that does not know what a UL label looks like, they would have said, oh, they have a UL label on it. But it was nothing but a sticker that had the UL listing number on it. So listings and UL labels. UL listings is the first thing you do when you are going through the process to get a UL label. And it's doesn't take really any testing, doesn't take vigorous testing. They haven't checked the item very much. And so that's why a UL listing alone is not recognized by your homeowner's insurance, nor is it recognized with
Your insurance, OSHA.
OSHA.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry,
Yep.
lost it. It happens, right? So it also not with OSHA. So OSHA has one of their codes is that the homeowner is responsible for devices installed on their house.
So yeah, in the any National Electric Code Section 90.7 examination of equipment has a rule in there that it needs to be listed and labeled. So anything in our code that we're governed by, the National Electric Code, needs to have a listing and a label on it to be installed in a commercial building or a residential building or a industrial, anywhere where our code has jurisdiction. And so the actual having the listing label on the device shows that, like Heather was explaining, that it's gone through that further testing. And so he got on the phone with his boss, called and quoted the listing number and said that it has a listing, and then we just said,
we
no,
just kept trying to say
that's not enough.
what we're
It
saying.
needs to have, and then I showed him in my document that I created where it shows a different meter, but it actually has a UL listing on it. And I said, this is
UL label
or label on it. And I said,
Yeah.
this is what I'm talking about. Yours does not have this.
Yes, so let's get into it. That's what we learned a lot from the California fires and from the insurance adjusters that would testify in court, was that these homeowners not educated on the fact that if we put devices on our home that don't have this UL label, then we are responsible for damages that it causes. And so that's what we learned from these insurance adjusters that had to deny, and deny all of these home fires, and people lost everything. And so it was to an extent where that's why the law changed for them. But their smart meter styles, they might have a different name. These are all still doing the same thing. They're basically the same. They all still have the same switch mode power supplies, which do not handle the hard turn shut offs and turn ons. Like it gets too hot. Can you explain more to them about that?
Let me just get into what I created, this code violation document, and we can refer to it. But it starts off with Norman Lamb's testimony. He's an insurance adjuster, and he actually addresses their UL listing. So they have and this is the UL listing that he referred to. They have a smart meter UL listing, UL standard 2735. And in his testimony in this case in New Mexico under oath, he testifies, even though that they have this listing, the listing isn't enough. He says, but even this certification is not sufficient. The very meters that have received this certification have caused fires. So under oath, he said that's not enough. It needs to have the UL additional testing and have a label actually put on that device. And to my knowledge, a lot of these main smart meters that they've rolled out don't have that testing. So they rushed the rollout, and basically I said to the guys, I said, so this is my choice. You either shut me down or I take a meter that's against OSHA and against the rules of our house that can, create and put us in being liable for our house then, because then we're going against OSHA's rule. And I said, that's what you guys are offering us. And they're a third party, so they care less either way. Luckily the tech had saw us as humans and just told his boss that they're not going to do it. And he accepted my document to go read later.
Yeah, I gave him a copy of the document. I said, please look at this. It could do nothing but good to educate yourself on what you're installing and what you have on your own house, which he totally agreed, that he was a homeowner too, and he understands. I even, because we can look at smart meters and all the separate issues, why do people even want to opt out meter? Why is that even an option? And that option came from the fact that the regular style smart meter, it communicates through radio frequency bursts that happen very frequently. And you also have what's called a collector meter that you might have on your home, which is gets all the collection from all of the other meters and it has even higher radio frequency. Okay, so there's the radio frequency part. So, okay, here, get an opt-out meter. Now, the opt-out meters, depending on if you're in Longmont, Boulder, do you have Xcel, what kind of, provider you have might change, okay? But basically, the meters are still all very similar. And so we've tested a variety of them, and we have tested many of the like we've tested the Landis-Gear ones. The one they put on our house today was,
It's
or not on our house,
They
that they
tried to-
wanted to put on our
Aclara.
house. Aclara.
Yep.
Which we've tested the Aclaras and found that it is very high dirty electricity that it causes in your house, which all of them do. And if you didn't get one and your neighbors did, your dirty electricity in your house and the kilohertz is very high. So we've already had to install a sign tamer on our house because we were affected when our neighbors got them. We were affected when our neighbors got them, and we were getting headaches and having, our Lyme symptoms basically flaring up. And so we invested right away. We knew what it was, and we got our sign tamer, and all of those symptoms went away for us. So we weren't really worried with the fact that the meter that they were trying to put on our house was going to cause dirty electricity because already we have solved that issue. Um, but I had an issue with the fact that they were going to put a device on my house that, for one, they hadn't given me a shut off notice. And for two, they were trying to make me believe that they had put a UL label.
Yeah, it was a bait and switch. I just want to show the bioinitiative report clearly states in 2012 they did a lot of research, and I want to share my screen so I could show this a little bit better. But clearly, and I'll just read it because it's not going to show it. But bioeffects can also occur from just minutes of exposure to mobile phone masts, cell towers, Wi-Fi, wireless utility smart meters that produce whole body exposure. Chronic base station levels can result in illness. And then they also did in 2014, and then they did additional science research and testing in 2022 and found similar results. So that it's carcinogen to be around the opt-outs and the regular smart meters.
Yeah, so as I was stating, so then when you have chosen to have an opt-out meter, you're not necessarily having the same radio frequency effects. Although your neighbor that got a regular meter and your other neighbor that got a regular meter, those two meters are communicating all the time through your house. Anyway, so you still probably have some of the radio frequency effects, but now you have more dirty electricity on your wires. And we have already been to at least two smart meter fires that were in the Boulder area. And one of them, yeah, it's a huge deal that a lot of these meter sockets and just the panels and the wiring are not at a capacity or reliable to have these smart meters systems running.
They put a lot of stress on the older home wiring, aluminum wiring,
it's not
the
compatible is
the
what I'm
older
trying to
meter
say.
sockets, Xcel now they want a lever bypass socket, and those like they have little levers and it opens up and then clamps down on the little fins on the new smart meters. So that's like makes a little bit better connection. But if you have the old style that just pushes in, which many homes do, those can create arcing and heating, and especially on those old terminals, create a lot of stress and fires. That's kind of the melting or breaking point in some of the older wiring with the smart meters.
And then something that happened with the fires in California is that, yeah, before the fire could be investigated, PG&E was coming in
And hiding the
and
evidence.
reading the evidence
Yeah,
and the meter, and it was completely
malicious.
illegal. But we kind of saw kind of the same thing, like where it doesn't get the appropriate investigation, or
Well,
it's
utilities act like they have like a golden, certificate to do anything they want. Any usually infrastructure project doesn't need to be inspected. They have like kind of free reign. They're written in. Their oversight for as far as our state is through the Public Utility Commission, and it's through like some sort of like grant, or they write it in through the legislation process. So it's um, kind of really a corrupt thing to do for a monopoly for a corporation to be able to have, and then just force a cancerous carcinogen device on you, or we're going to shut your power off. So that's kind of that's where we're at.
yeah. So here's let's talk about other things that we kind of discussed with them. Was we've already told, well, Josiah's already told them before that there's an option. If you want to put a device on my house that is not got a UL label, then it should it should be on a pedestal off my house.
So the utility can install a pedestal, and then they're not off the house. They're not bound by the National Electric Code. They're only not bound by the National Electric Safety Code, which is the utility code that they're under. Um, and then they could put that non-UL listed device on their pedestal, and then just take those wires, put it into a pedestal, put their meter there, and then as far as on my side, I could put an analog meter and then be able to check their meter. Monthly to make sure that it's not overcharging me for all the dirty electricity that it creates.
Right, which hopefully, because we already have our sign tamer, that hopefully it would constantly be correcting that anyway. But either way, it's important for you as a homeowner and as somebody that works your butt off, and only to see that every time you start to get ahead, the bills, raise, to make sure you're not being overcharged. Keep track of it yourself. Like, see if they are being honest with your bill, because I am hearing of a lot of people that have caught problems that add up. It might only be come off as, $14 or $33 a month, but that'll add up. I mean, you could end up paying $300 extra a year. Yeah, it's bullshit.
And we're doing oscilloscope testing throughout the community, and we're testing the Claras, we're testing the Riva Gen 5s, the smart meters that Xcel has. So we have all that kind of all those oscilloscope readings and testing, and it's extensive of the dirty electricity that just radiates in your house. And we have clients that get really, really sick when they come into the neighborhood or after they've had them for a few months. So
Really sick.
yeah.
And that's what we've been doing a lot of in our work lately, is helping clients that we had already seen, possibly some of them, back in 2020, and got them, sleeping good then, and got their sleep switch, and had did all our initial readings. And then after they've got their smart meter, opt-out meter, they've gotten sick.
Yeah.
Their sleep has got deteriorated. One of our clients, to the point where she told us she had not slept in nearly 3 months, and she was extremely sick.
At her last
Um,
days, yeah.
And those are cumulative effects of the dirty electricity and the kilohertz
And
frequency.
it took her almost 2 months to unwind from it after we got the filter in and all that, because it is cumulative and it
Yeah.
builds up. So that to get it to
It's not going to just
detox,
all detox in one day.
yeah,
It took her a little while, but she started noticing like right away after the install, like, okay, well, I slept at night.
yeah.
I actually slept good last night. But the effects did take a little while, but now, she's back to sleeping really well because everybody's looking at all of these causes why they're not sleeping and why, they're sick. And yes, there's a lot of multi, layer things going on with all of us. We are really being hit in so many multi directions. But one of the places where we're being hit the most and that no one's looking at is at the AC field in their house, which the AC field is that is in all your walls, possibly your floors, possibly your ceilings. And that's all around us. And depending on how your house is, every home is so different, depending on
Where your panel is.
where your panel is, what ley lines you have in your home, what you have on that ley line, it can make an issue way worse. And it's these invisible issues no one looks at, and that's why the detox isn't working. That's why people are still getting worse. That's why you're not sleeping. There's something going on in your sleep space, and it's not just outside. I'm not saying like, yeah, there's the environmental issues are very real too. But us as human beings, we have a healing capacity within us that is godlike. Like we have the ability to go to sleep every night and our body vibrates and communicates, and all of the different frequencies of every single organ and cell vibrate to talk to each other. And when they're able to do that and not getting drowned out by all of the much louder frequencies, it's a really beautiful thing. And all of the diseases, they pretty much seek to exist because you might come into contact with things, but your body's going to communicate what to do and what do I need that night. When that's cut out, then basically you are just dealing with inflammation and aging every day. Um, there was another thing I want to say. Well, I have everybody here and I'm on this rant. There's a lot of different ways to look at frequency. But, if you are somebody that believes that all the high frequency is good. Well, really, the high frequencies are a smaller waveform, which is actually more dangerous to the human body. And it's more away from us and away from our frequency.
Yeah, and the Schumann is down here, and then the higher, harmful fields are up here. So really, the lower end.
Right. We should average just like the earth because that's who we are connected with. And that should be averaging 440 hertz, between different organ functions and stuff, just like her. And we, of course, fluctuate. But the higher frequencies, especially man-made frequencies, not the organic and natural frequencies, they are harmful to our bodies and they are harmful to us on all of the planes of, this realm, all of them. They're harmful to the physical, the emotional, the astral, the spiritual. It affects us on all levels. And so are you able to share that right
Yeah,
now?
that's coming up.
Yeah, so if you're looking here and at 60 hertz, so DC stands for direct current. And then,
That's electromagnetic fields.
yeah, then we get into the L field. So 60 hertz right here is what like America is on as far as our electricity. If you're in Europe, you're on 50 hertz. And so anything that we reference as dirty electricity is anything above this 60 hertz. And so when we're saying that you have dirty electricity, it's all this, okay? And then you see how kilohertz is here. Well, dirty electricity in your house is already in the kilohertz, okay? Maybe, lower, but and kilohertz has terrible health effects on the body. I mean, they use it in the medical field because they can use it as a nerve blocker. So a lot of people, oh, I've got ringing in the ears, I'm always hearing a buzzing. Turn your whole panel off, and with having the smart meters, you still might hear that because the dirty electricity or the neutral wire is never shut off. It's never turned off, and that's because that's constantly taking current back to the electrical transfer station
Yeah,
and through the
to the
ground.
transfer
So
transformer.
I mean, we could do a whole show just about that and about how the electricity is taken back and why grounding, even outside on the ground, might not be good because you might actually just be grounding with ground current. But that's for another time. But yeah, so if you look at this wave, these are bigger, and that is actually safer than when we get into these smaller waveforms. So speaking about, so just high frequency, it's not necessarily good because we want our frequency to be as close to Earth's as possible. Okay, we want to match up with her to be the healthiest. So when we get confused, like, oh, these frequencies are healing. Some people they heal with frequencies and they think these frequencies are the healing frequencies. Well, any frequency can be a healing frequency, really, or a detrimental one.
About the quality of the waveform.
It's about the quality of the waveform. And so if that waveform in that device that we use or whatever, if it's not harmonized and balanced, then it is not healing. And it only is having some sort of negative effect on the body. So I've been really interested over the years. I see a lot of people come out with a lot of products. I've been very supportive, trying to support small businesses and just like loving that people when they create their art, that I want to be happy for them and show them support and buy it. But since I have, um, been learning more, and especially since I can now test through physical radiesthesia, all these devices, what I've found is most people are not educated on the devices they're making, and they don't actually test in any way that it actually harmonized, and they're using either outdated information or dark information that's been put out there in order to make people confused and actually cause harm. And I know a lot of people love copper and use copper, and I am an electrician, and we would say that it's great for electrical, it's great for transformers, and a lot of this is because
Motors.
motors, because it's a diamagnetic. It's good for if you were trying to create power and you like for ether and actually like gather power. But a lot of these studies and all these things were never done when we've had any of the frequencies of today. Everybody is talking about something being helpful without even testing the environment around them, and they don't even have like the baseline blood tests, for what was going on before they put something in the environment. And so a lot of things that I've tested actually are making things way worse. Like any orgone that I have tested that is in the shape of a pyramid is deadly orgone. Pyramids are a beautiful, beautiful, most pyramid and a dome. Those are the two most powerful shapes that you could really have, but only when made exactly correct. And if made off, then they have equally two dangerous effects. And so eight-sided pyramids are, and by sided, I mean angles, basically 8 angled pyramids, are the ones that are made that end up, when made correctly, have average of 440 hertz that actually are compatible with us and help heal us, and carry the earth. Schumann resident. The four-sided pyramids and those aren't made for us. They're not made for healing. And they a lot of them could be corrected to have 8 angles, but you have to know how to do that stuff. You have to actually know how to do it. And the same with the domes. A dome can be really healing, or you can make it really dangerous. Um, but I'm testing a lot of devices, like, I've never read personally, where William Reich said, let's use copper. And I see a lot of people that use a diamagnetic material. And when I test through radiesthesia any of the orgone, the minute it's by that copper, I immediately get a counterclockwise spin, which tells me it is not harmonized. And then if I get out another pendulum that I have, I can actually test for the harmful vertical negative green that it's emitting, which is the opposite green that you would want present.
Which is like deadly orgone.
Yeah. So, and the same with cloudbusters. No one has any business. I'm going to say you don't have any business making cloudbusters. If you're using copper,
Yeah.
you are making the whole environment more dangerous. And I'm sorry that, I have to be the one to say it, but somebody's got to say it. Y'all making money and you're hurting people and you're hurting yourself and you're hurting the environments and you're hurting the animals. And you go and put deadly orgone on a Curry line or a Hartman line that's not balanced, and you've just made that grid line even bigger and an even bigger issue. Like, this is serious. A bunch of people getting together maybe and like, let's talk about real facts about orgone, and let's talk about like actually creating things that we can scientifically show helps and doesn't hurt. Let's do that. Let's bring a community together
Well,
where
maybe
we
not.
want to talk about the truth, and it doesn't involve living in a fantasy world where we're just blindlessly making and selling devices
Well,
and saying it's EMF.
but maybe not scientific. Maybe it's going to be the 99% that we can't see, and more quality than qualitative.
That is science.
Right.
That is science.
Yeah, but not the science that they teach us.
No, I'm not
True-
talking
true
about
earth
on my
science.
meters. I'm
True
talking
earth
about
science.
that you're making a device that's harmonized and has the right 3 color qualities that is actually found in harmonization. I think that we should have an education session and let's talk about these things. But that's my little rant on,
For another time, maybe.
maybe, yeah, I'll continue that for another time because it started about smart meters. But even down to what I'm seeing people saying online that will help with the smart meters. Putting a piece of copper or a tensor ring around your smart meter is not going to help in any way. And it's definitely not going to help the dirty electricity in your home. And if you are one of those people that are that gullible, then you're probably in trouble, because that's just wasting your money. It's wasting your money, it's wasting your time, and hopefully you don't share that information.
Got it. Awesome.
Do you have anything else?
I think that's it. We're
All
going to
right.
get this up.
Yep,
Thanks,
we gotta
guys.
get back.
Ciao.
Love ya.